host Marwan will be with us in just a moment. We've been having some technical difficulties, and so he had to restart his system to keep from freezing. Thank you very much, the internet. And we will be talking today about a dinosaur dies. But before that, Marwan and I will be talking a little bit about our plans for Friday night. And if you haven't heard so far, we are going to be at an event called Stone Soup at the West Side Improvement Club, um, and off of National and E Street. And we hope you come and join us because we will be there talking about tipping points and puzzle pieces. We'll be talking about the Food for All project and all of the other projects that we have going on. And Marwan is back with us and coughing a
Oh,
little
we're
bit.
live.
We
Sorry
are
about that.
live.
Hold on.
Yeah, let him go away for a minute, and I'll mute him. There we go. All right. So Marwan has been sick recently, and he's trying to muscle through this. And we will be working with him in just a moment. But yes, we will be meeting at the. We will be having a Stone Soup event. Chef Chris now will be doing the honors of making the soups. Spiva Spices will be donating the spices. It will be pretty wonderful, and we should all have a really good time. So I was going to ask Marwan what he's planning on doing Friday night.
Friday night. I will be at Stone Soup.
And what will you be
Uh,
doing in Stone Soup?
well, so I've got a lot of duties. One, I'll be recording. Also, I will be setting up the go bag and doing a demonstration. So I'm going to be busy, and I'm going to be eating and fellowshipping and building community.
Right. And one more thing you're going to be doing.
What else?
You're
Oh,
going to be
emceeing.
well, partly, but you're also going to be receiving a certificate of recognition for the work that the conduit does.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that doesn't feel like work. So
But it's part of what you're going to be doing there. So I just wanted to bring that up. We have 18 recipients of awards, or not awards, but certificates of recognition. The reason we call them certificates of recognition is because we wholeheartedly believe in the practice of cooperation as opposed to competition, and awards feels like competition. Recognition is just telling you that these people are doing amazing things above and beyond for the community, frequently at their own cost, and doing good work. And so we want you to know who they are. And we hope that you will. I mean, again, this is, we do not advertise for people. We are a nonprofit. We are completely neutral. Selections are made by experiential data. We don't just give awards out or give recognition out. We give recognition because recognition is due. And so come and see these 18 wonderful organizations, businesses, and community service providers get their recognition that they're long overdue to have.
oh, I'm excited. And just so people know, don't be afraid. I'm good. It's just a dry cough. I'm way at the end of it. Just caught me at a bad time.
Yeah, and Friday night he will be perfect
Yep.
and glowing.
And I do feel great. So yeah, I just have this dry cough that's persisting here, over a week now. So
So I'm going to give you the title of today's program, and I want you to tell me what it means to you.
okay.
A dinosaur dies and nobody notices.
A dinosaur dies and no one notices. Uh, man. Well, the first thing that pops into my head is apathy. Is the one word that I would give. Is that things are happening that are significant, maybe dire. I'll just go with significant, and people are unaware, and that could be good or bad, right?
Is
That's how I was significant versus dire.
well, any of it, but for the idea of Stone Soup, we are going to stay completely away from all of the warning things because it's a celebration of people coming together. And the
Mhm.
one thing we believe above all others is that by coming together, we can change any outcome in any circumstance. And we can learn better together when we know that we have each other's backs and that we can overcome that way. So we are celebrating the opportunity to come together and create community and to share food, which is the oldest form of sharing community. So, but when a dinosaur dies, I am, most of you don't really know me personally, but I read a lot. I read a lot of scientific data. I read a lot of reports. I read a lot of source material for all kinds of things. And I also read science fiction and mysteries because I really enjoy them. But my partner Terry has pointed out to me that there seems to be a common thread in my enjoyment reading. Is that it's
Mm.
all about overcoming. It's all about looking at things in a different perspective. It's about seeing the world through different eyes. And I have to agree that most of what I enjoy doing is looking at things through different eyes, through different ways of seeing it. And one of the things I came across in a book that was written probably 30, 40 years ago by a gentleman named Steve Perry, who, by the way, lives in Oregon, and it's called The Man Who Never Missed. And ostensibly, it is a revolution story. Now, for those of you who've listened to our programs, you understand that revolution isn't my thing. I think that intentional evolution is a better way to go to change things. But in this story, there is a description that I find very, very poignant. They were describing they have, of course, they have a galactic empire that is Earth-based galactic empire that is very abusive, very authoritarian, and when somebody has a problem, they send in troops to calm it out. It's all about resources and such. Oh, sounds kind of like today, but that's beside the point. And he said that they're dying, they're collapsing upon themselves, but being a giant dinosaur, it's going to be a long time before the brain realizes that the rest of the body has died. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is the fact that a dinosaur is dying, and possibly two or three types of dinosaurs are dying, and we don't see it and we don't notice it because the time frame of the actual collapse is so long in our perspective.
Mm.
You know, we got to where we are, and these pending crises or significant situations over thousands of years. And the trouble is that the consequences are coming due in dozens of years to 100 years. And so we have to work faster and think faster and look at things differently. But the dinosaur's been dying for a long time, and we are not noticing it because we live our lives in our spaces trying to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I find that as a very poignant example of what's going on right now. Um, when you're out on the road driving or being a passenger on a bus or whatever, you notice people doing very questionable things. And you see it constantly. There was a post on Facebook the other day that said, am I the only one that does WTF 96 times a day? And I'm not going to repeat what WTF means. You figure it out, look it up in the Urban Dictionary. Um, and as we say, what? Mm. And we look at this and we do this dozens of times a day. And I know I do. And I'm starting to pay attention when I do because people will do things that are just by any measure crazy. So think about that for a minute. When we're in our automobiles driving and we see somebody doing crazy, so, okay, I have to do a disclaimer right here. I'm 67 years old. And everything I've seen other people do that I go WTF about, I have done myself. And I just want to put that out there. This is not a judgment. This is a statement about where we are when we do those things. And when I do that, the next thing that comes into my mind is, where was I at when I did something that dumb? And I live to tell about it. And a lot of people do live to tell about it. But, I live to tell about it. So we live in these cars and we're driving along, and we are in a box of metal. We have a phone with us, and it's texting us. Our girlfriend just broke up with us on text, or our job interview or something when we think it's important to text back. All of these things happen, and we are in a bubble that says that we are alone in this world around us. But are we? We aren't, because I will say there's a 40,000-pound bus coming down on you that you just cut off. And physics says that if it had been in it come out any different, your day would be very bad. So we don't stop to think about consequences because we're too busy thinking about what we need and where we are right now. Something my dad taught me that it took decades for me to learn. And understand, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it took decades for me to learn. So I'm no smarter than the rest of you. I just have had a lot more time on the planet than many. But as we're going through these things, I'm thinking, is that 5 seconds I'm going to gain going to mean anything in the actual trip that I'm taking? From experience, I'll tell you, no, it's not, because I pull up next to you at the light a few seconds later. It doesn't mean a thing. So that rush and that thing that you did, that didn't mean anything. But it feels, the pressure you feel is real. The situation you feel is real. All of that feels real because you have no perspective on the road. And perspective
Mm.
takes time and it takes effort. And you have to look at things in a little longer time frame. But we're taught not to do that. We're constantly under pressure to perform, and focus on only what we're asked to do. If I'm going to be 2 minutes late, my boss may fire me. And that may seem silly to some of you, but to a great portion of the people working in low end jobs, that's a reality, because that threat is always there. You're on your way to a dinner date with somebody that you care a lot about, and you're going to be a couple minutes late for whatever reason. And let's be honest, you took a couple extra minutes to comb your hair and brush your teeth and whatever, and you left late. But let's say you're rushing to get there. Is that extra 5 seconds going to make a difference? Is that extra 30 seconds going to make a difference? But the risk you take to do that could make a tremendous difference. What if you didn't get there at all? This is what perspective is about. It's about thinking about things on a broader perspective and not just reacting to the moment and the pressure. The pressure's there. It's real. I know it. I have felt it. Marwan has felt it. Everybody on this planet has felt it. But being in control of yourself and the situation is far more important than reacting to it. So a dinosaur is dying. We don't see it. And gaining the perspective to see the dinosaur takes a lot more than the perspective you need to slow down a little bit and pay more attention to what's going on around you. But it is real. And until we start paying attention to it, it's going to continue to be a growing risk. And we need to learn how to do that. It's not going to happen all at once. It's not going to happen overnight in any way, shape. It is not a light switch. It is a transition. So I want to share something that was somewhat of an epiphany to me this week. I don't really think of myself as right or left. I think of myself as a humanist. I focus on humanity and I focus on social contracts. It's what I do, it's how I think, it's what gives me the perspective to do the work I do and to engage with people. But on the spectrum of what people in the United States consider right and left, I am very far left, because the very far left thinks about humanity and the importance of humanity. I don't think of myself as left. I think of myself as a fairly rational person. But in the scheme of things, I am to the left. But my perspective is that we have to transition, and that makes me different from everybody else that is politically left or socially left. They want to drive the point home now, today, change it now, be there now. But that's not how it works, is it? Change doesn't happen like a light switch. Change doesn't happen overnight. Change happens when people reach a tipping point and embrace it. And that's the difference between the way I think and the way a lot of people think. They want what they want it now. They want it, a decade is too long. But is a decade too long when we change all of the way things we do? Change is scary. There are going to be people that do it quickly. There are people who are going to do it not at all until everybody else is doing it. But it's transitional. And think about the fact that it took thousands of years for us to get into this position. It's going to take generations for us to get out of this position. But I need you to hear me now when I say we can do some extraordinary things in a very short time if we start working together.
What would those things be? Because you're making it sound like I know you're kind of speaking in general,
Yeah,
but the work we're doing today, as you often point out, is work for our daughters' children.
some of
Because
the
that,
things are. Some of the things are cultural change. Okay, so let's break this down. Long-term cultural change is going to take generations. But some things that are at risk right at this moment that are life-threatening risk, quite honestly, are water availability, water delivery, water management. These are things that are done poorly right now. And we can actually make a change on that in a year or two by coming together and pushing for it. Food security is growing more and more at risk due to climate change, due to transportation and infrastructure, due to our agricultural practices, due to many, many things. We can change that in a year or two. Communication, power, these are things we can change in a year or two because all we have to do is overcome the perspective that the utilities actually have our best interests at heart and we can start pushing for major changes. And a lot of what resilient ecosystems does is around those things. And we can make differences not overnight, not at the flip of a light switch, but we can make changes in Kitsap County literally in the next couple of years by working together, by having those conversations, by talking about our humanity and humanity thriving. And come Friday night and talk to us because a lot of what we're presenting is about the short term, about coming together and how we can do amazing things in the short term. What I tend to talk about when I'm not talking about building community is I'm talking about the long term changes we can make once we have the perspective to start making those changes. But I won't be alive to see it, and I know that. But you will be, or might be. And so we need to start the process. We need to start putting one foot in front of the other. An analogy I used for Terry today, as we were talking, and she was saying, well, how do we change the flow? I said, by putting one stick in the sand, and then putting another stick in the sand, and then another stick in the sand. And we keep putting sticks in the sand with people coming behind us, putting sand behind those sticks and rocks behind those sticks. And pretty soon you've got the change of you've got the river changing direction to a different place. It's an incremental process, but someone has to take the first step.
hmm.
Did that answer your question?
It helps. I think it might be good if you have uh, a response to those that may feel like, hey, I've got this life, and once this life is gone, what do I care? How, what happens to the world after? And regardless of whether I have offspring or not, it's for them to figure it out. We inherited, the world post World War I, II, and some other things, and they're gonna inherit the world post COVID and everything else. So, What is the incentive for, digging in and saying, "Hey, Imma work on some things that I'm not gonna see." And I don't know if there are gonna be enough people that are magnanimous enough to carry on in spite of themselves, also to do better by humanity.
Well, the story of Stone Soup is if everybody gives a little, everybody gains a lot. And so that's a starting point for this conversation. But the reality is, the name of the show is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. Tipping points are when 20% of the people are doing it and the other 80% follow along. Whether you're one of the 20% or 80%, I don't know. But your actions over time will prove which side of that fence you're on. I'm one of the 20% because I feel that taking a step today for my child's future, for everybody's future, is important to do.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is your focus right now is gathering the 20%.
Exactly so.
I like it.
So we need the 20%. And by the way, that's a scientific thing. That's not a Mark thing. That's,
Mhm.
several studies have come out that says between 15 and 20% will change the world one step at a time. And Margaret Mead, a long time ago, said, never doubt that a small group of dedicated people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. So we've known this for a while. We've proven it scientifically now. And so what we need to do is bring those people together and start having conversations.
And I think why that's important is I believe there are 20 percenters out there that have not identified themselves yet and feel like I would love to participate and make some change, but no one cares. There's too much to do. And so they sit in lament, in silence, and in solitude, not understanding, hey, you know what? Well, all we need is 15%. And with you, it's 3%. And now with them, it's 7%. And we're getting a little bit closer and closer. We don't have to change everyone. We're looking at such a small percentage, right? If you got $10 and 15% is $1.50, you'd say, hey, man, that's not a lot of money. So we actually don't need a lot of people. So I think
Nope.
changing that perspective on it is empowering. It makes you feel like I'm not doing this in vain, and the efforts that I make actually are going to make a difference because they are.
And we are reaching tipping points around the world even as we speak today. Our focus is a little different than a lot of others because we're focused on local community because that's where the biggest change can happen. And I wanted to say this because I don't know if people who listen to this program know, but we are gathering data about the work that we do and the effects, both good and bad, the things that have worked, the things that have not worked. We have been working on messaging. We have working on ways of thinking about connecting with people. We are working on, we do workshops on this. We talk a lot. Oh my God, the color on this is so off. I look like I have like just ate a cherry popsicle. Um, and we're collecting that data and we are putting it together so that anybody anywhere who wants to emulate what we're doing in their own region or communities or county or city, they can have it for free. And we will talk to them about what works and what doesn't work. We will help them fit it toward their own community. We will help them engage in this because once Kitsap starts becoming more and more focused on gaining perspective and changing local behavior to better support everyone, other people will want to do it. And we are being watched by a lot of folks. So that'll be kind of a cool thing. Um, just saying that changing the world is not an instant process. Changing your neighborhood and your community is not instant. There's some things you can do fairly short term that will have really big impacts, but it is not instant. So,
Well, and you it, one of the reasons why I pose that to you is there are times when I feel that way, right? I get up
yeah,
every day and I'm
you and
working
me
on a lot.
both.
I'm working on a multitude of things, and there's days like I don't even know what the point is of this. I could be doing something else. This is just such a waste, you know. I hear a lot of people just say, you know what, I'll go and save the puppies because you know the puppies give unconditional love. Um, but you know those times are
Oh, I have to comment on that for a moment. I have a friend.
you know,
I'm going to butcher her last name. Um, Linda Nabiza, I think is her name. She's in Portland and she does rescue dog training. And
mm,
she is usually the happiest, most positive person you ever saw. But she posted something on Facebook yesterday or the day before that I was like going, oh my God. And she's going, if you expect a puppy to be perfect and perfectly behaved the moment you get them, buy a Roomba and put googly eyes on it.
okay.
Because puppies are puppies and you're going to have to work with them. You're going to have to train them. You're going to have to, engage with them and get them to where you need them to be. And, if that's not your attitude going into it, it's not going to be a successful matchup. And that's not even rescue puppy. That's all puppies.
Well, I think it's important to you know stay the course. You may need to modify the path.
Yep.
This year,
Frequently.
you know, some of my messaging will is going to come off a lot more radical, and I'm going to piss some people off this year. And some of the things that I have to say, uh, however, in that what you were saying about, you know, hey, some of these things are going to take time, right?
Mhm.
And this dinosaur dying is taking sometimes generations, years, decades. Uh, and we're not going to right the ship overnight. Some of those things, even if we can't change it tomorrow, you got to wake up now, right? You
Yep.
sleep, wake up, you know, because until then, we cannot change direction, right? And right now, you're not paying attention to it. Whatever this thing is, you know, I'm not going to put a name on it because everyone has their issues. Uh, but what I'm speaking of
Which is why I use dinosaur.
what I'm speaking of personally, which I won't reveal here, but if you do watch the Echo Chamber series, you'll get an idea of what that is. Is the again, and that's why I use the word apathy, right? There's a lot of apathy around it. There's a lot of what you said earlier, right? All the things that I am critiquing now, I've done, so I'm no better than anyone else, right? So
Mhm.
these are some spaces that we lived in because that was the culture or whatever the case may be, survival mode, didn't think it was an issue, matured, whatever. Um, but I think we've
Just
gone
just
down.
for plain stupid at one point or another.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
say that. I can say that for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've gone down a path of destruction in a lot of different ways, and, you know, again, I know that I'm gonna piss people off, I'm gonna lose, friendships and probably even business relationships, but these things need to be said, and I think the net of it is it will be addition by subtraction, if you've heard that term,
Mhm.
and sometimes that has to happen.
Yeah, I have a slightly different approach these days, and God knows I've been down that path a few times. Um,
I'm a little bit younger than you, sir, so, you know, I'm going into my,
yeah,
rebel season.
yeah. I mean, there are frequently times that I wanted to do a right cross when I really needed to do was just step out of the way. Um, so my way of doing things these days is invite people to participate and invite people to connect. Um, and if they don't want to connect for whatever multitude of reasons, it doesn't make them bad people. It means that they're involved in something right now that they can't. But the fact that I invited them and keep inviting them will mean that at some point they're going to connect.
I
And
think
and the
I
door is
think it's
always
the same
open.
thing. It is the same thing. It will be an invitation. It is an invitation, and the reason is, and that's why the show is called Echo Chamber, actually. But uh, in my individual conversations, people agree 100% in the things that I'm talking about, right? and they will come and lament those things to me. The problem is that they cannot say it publicly because they're worried about being ostracized or canceled or destroyed, right? And they have to take care of themselves and their families, and they may be the
Mhm.
sole breadwinner. Um, and so it's too dangerous for them to take a position and speak out, even to agree, not to even, take any action, but just to say, you know what, I agree with that. They're fearful.
We live in a culture of fear. We are taught to fear everything all the time. And going beyond that, you need to have your back covered, which is why community is so important. And having these conversations in a place that's safe, where no one's going to ostracize you, but they're going to hear you out and ask questions and engage in a conversation that will lead you to an outcome and possibly even consensus about how to move forward, is what we teach.
Well, and in the spirit of Black History Month, my question would be is where's our King? Where's our Malcolm X? Where's our JFK? Um, where are these people today that people are listening to that are going against the grain uh, that folks can rally around, right? Everything that,
Where is our Bob Dylan? Where is our Crosby, Stills and Nash? Where
yep.
is our Joan Baez? Where are the people that wrote the music and wrote the books that made us think and challenge? What happened to the '60s? Oh wait, I covered that on a program a few back. It got co-opted by our culture, which is a culture of fear. And so, where are those people? They probably shouldn't exist, because that is part of the cultural trap that we get into, is we look for champions to do it and to lead us, when you and I and the people we know are as much leaders as they are. We just have to do it together, as opposed to looking to one leader. If you have one leader, you have one point of failure.
I agree and I disagree. And I disagree because
I
with
just want to point
King.
out, this is one of those moments, folks, to pay attention, because Marwan and I are disagreeing on something. Watch how we do this.
This is because as King being a leader and through that assassination, that legacy has carried on, right?
Mhm.
Even though there's that failure point. I think we've had the absence of leadership for a few decades now, and no one has really come forward. We've had Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter and some other things, and there has been leadership that's in there. But it's interesting, just today I was watching there's an officer on trial for a murder of another citizen, and we're not hearing anything from Black Lives Matter. It's almost as if it's been dismantled. And so because it's been co-opted by capitalism, and the three that founded it, went and bought a bunch of mansions and did all their other things, the spirit of Black Lives Matter seems to be defunct right now, right?
Mhm.
So these travesties and injustices are still happening, but now there's this silence. And so there isn't a perfect leader, no doubt, but I think we've had this absence of leadership. Even when Black Lives Matter came to be and Occupy Wall Street came to be, there was no leadership. There was no one to point to that was kind of this guiding North Star. And even if the community or the opposition attacked that person, short of assassination, right? You can choose who you cancel and who you don't cancel. We see that power even when it comes to the Me Too movement or any other movement, when there is selective canceling of people. So folks are able to
It's
protect who
just
they want to
it's
protect.
another form of co-opting.
Yeah.
It is just another form of co-opting. It is how to take power out of a movement of change to keep things the way that they are.
Which is why I feel like right now there needs to be some leadership. Someone needs to take the lead. And there's a lot of fear from that, right?
Mhm.
We've been told through demonstration, hey, you could
Put your
be
head up,
a
you'll get
leader if you
shot.
want. As the saying goes, the tall blade of grass gets cut. So,
Yeah.
you know, but we have to be bold. Someone has to be bold. We need bold people to stand up and say, "Yeah, you know what? I'll do it. I'll say it. Yes, I'm gonna get chopped down." And then hopefully someone else will carry the torch, and that
Or
will light
worse.
the next generation.
Yeah. So you know what's worse these days than getting chopped down?
What's that?
I don't see getting chopped down as a threat as much anymore. What I see as a threat in our world of apathy is being ignored.
Hmm. I'm trying to digest that. Being ignored.
They will bury it, the message, under thousands and thousands of things. You realize corporations have teams of people that scour the internet and bury any negative word under thousands of posts that are meaningless.
Yes.
Try doing a search on Google, and it takes you 10, 15, 20 pages before you find anything meaningful, because the people are being paid to bury information.
And that's where we, the people, have to be the counter messaging and have to promote
And you have to do that by having relationships.
to overcome it. Yeah.
And I am saying that start with your neighborhood. Oh my God, I hate that guy on the end of the street. I can't talk to him. He's so racist. He had a Trump sign in his yard. I can't even. Well, guess what? You can. There are things that you have in common that you don't want to think about because you're diametrically opposed on some political or specific issue. Welcome to being programmed to not connect with other people. But you might just have something in common with them. And together, when you start talking about humanity, you'll find you have a lot of things in common with them, and you can work together to make change.
Well, I think I'm gonna get a Trump sign.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I love it. Let me go to Amazon and order one. Or I should just go to the campaign, right?
That should make an interesting commentary. But the point is, anything that is immediately divisive in messaging, talking to the person will show you that that may not be true at all. It may just be they're looking for some kind of change because things aren't working. Now, there are ideologues that are out there that are just hateful people, but they came to that hate through pain. Not that you can go out and fix them, but not everybody's that way. Most people are just the people who voted for Trump the first time around that I've talked to were looking for somebody to change things. And they were seeing that what they were being offered was the same old shit that is causing pain in their lives or a potential change. So they voted for the potential change. It's not what they got. It's not what any of us got. But that's what they were voting for. I've had great conversations with them because I came at them with not accusations, but questions saying, I don't understand. Can you explain it to me? And not
Well,
judge and don't judge.
and the converse is true, right? So
Right.
folks went back and voted the other way, and they got exactly what they always get. And here we are again.
Well, yeah, and with some actual differences, but not enough for us to call this a big win. Um, but then again, you look at the House of Representatives and you see complete. What was it? Bo said the other day, clown show, and it's exactly what it is. But this is because people are controlled. That our representatives are controlled by people other than us, and that has to change. And the only way that can change is by us coming to agreements about what we actually want. Not agreements based on our political affiliations, our religious affiliations, our social affiliations, or any of the things that create division among us, but on our humanity, on our human needs. And that's how we're going to change things together.
I wonder what it will take, honestly, for us to. Um, I think there's this fear, at least from a political standpoint, that if either side gives in to make the change that actually needs to happen, that both sides actually agree with, um, that there's going to be this loss, and you just cannot lose any ground. So dismantling the electoral college, getting dark money out of politics, things that generally both sides agree on. Uh, but there's this fear, so we hold on, and unfortunately, we continue to elect, and then they protect themselves
Yeah.
from being being ousted to keep the status quo. Because once they're there, they're in there, right?
So this is my one political comment on this whole thing, and it doesn't matter what
Sure.
side of the aisle you sit on. You should never have the power to vote your own pay raise,
Oh, I agree with that.
and yet they do. That's all I have to say about that. It's self-serving in every way, and that was not the vision of our forefathers. That was not the vision of the founders of our country, the people who wrote the Constitution. They expected to have public servants serving short terms and representing their constituencies. I
Hmm.
think we can fairly say that that does not occur anymore.
No, not even close.
Yeah, 23, 30 years in office, go in with a few $100,000, come out with $1 billion.
Well,
Yeah.
but we have to have the temerity and the strength to make that change.
I would say we have to have the conscious agreements and consensus that change needs to happen and what that change is. And that's, again, not a light switch. That's a process of building relationships.
Well, and that's where I think the hiccup is because I do believe the majority of people universally agree to that. The problem is how do you make that change, and then which side is ultimately going to be the first benefactor of that, if you will, right?
Well, and the fact is, if we all benefit from it, then that's not even a question. But we've gotten everything about competition, about who wins, who perceives to win, as opposed to cooperation where we all win.
Well, let me put it in terms this way, right? And again, we're not taking a political stance either way. Um, so in this scenario, right, there is pro-choice, right, or pro-life.
Well, pro-life and pro-choice, which are perceived opposites and
Right.
the
That's why I'm
division lines.
framing this.
Yeah,
That's why I'm framing this, right?
I was just clarifying.
Yeah, okay. So this is what's on the table, right? So both sides agree electoral college, dark money needs to come out.
Mhm.
However, that issue is such a polarizing issue. Either side will not acquiesce and collaborate and make the change because there's going to be a winner that comes from that has to rule first, and that they're probably going to advocate for that third rail, that deal breaker point, so then everyone just stays where they're at. How do we get past that?
By learning how to recognize the importance of a point that we both win on and stop, or that we both gain from, and stop looking for a solo winner for all issues. That's how
But
we
that
get.
that
That's how we
is
get
the
trapped.
that is the singular issue for many people. Like nothing else matters
Mhm.
but that. So if I don't have that, then I don't have anything.
Okay, I already said at the very beginning of this program, I am perceived by most as very far left. I personally think that this should be a non-issue completely, because keep your damned hands off our decision about what we do with our own bodies. That's
So then
not
we
a
can't
government.
move.
That's a government thing. That's
So
not.
we can't move because it is what it is. You see what I'm
I.
saying?
But
Whether you believe it should be an issue or not, it is an issue. So that
it
doesn't
is
help
an
us move
issue. But
forward.
the one side of the issue is about somebody who wants control over other people's lives. And I said, you
We
have
can't
control over your life. Why do
So
you want control over
I'm
mine?
gonna play the opposite on that. You're
Please.
not gonna get me off of that position. So it is an issue,
Yeah.
right? And you telling me that it shouldn't be an issue isn't gonna not make it an issue.
I'm not.
And so
Yeah.
because of that,
Mhm.
I cannot work with you and get rid of the electoral college and get dark money out, because I know that as soon as you win, once we get what we want, and if you're already in power or you get the power, then you're gonna make sure that I can't touch that particular issue. And so therefore, I I can't work with you. I can't move. That's where our issue is, right?
Well, and we're back to the 80-20.
But we need more than 80-20 in order to make that change. But speaking, I think I may have come up with a potential solution to that. I think if we were to have a coalition, right? And said, "Hey, look, we're going to get rid of the electoral college, we're going to get rid of dark money, or whatever we think, lifetime appointments to
The Supreme
Supreme
Court.
Court. We
Okay.
will not, either side will not touch these list of issues for 5 years. And it will be status quo for some of these really hardline things. And then at that point, then we can start to make some changes based on the community believing that politics works the way that it was more intended to work.
Mhm.
What do you think of that?
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that we have to teach people that the reason these hard points exist are not because we have true beliefs in the system, but because we're being told that by people who benefit from it.
Right. But if it wasn't me or you, this conversation would be over, right?
Yep, it would be because you would have canceled, or the person would have canceled me, and that would have been it.
Exactly.
And I can tell you how little I care about somebody canceling me because they perceive my view different from theirs. It's the antithesis of what humanity is, and I reach out for humanity every time. If you can't respect that, then you're going to cancel me anyhow. And I will focus on people I can talk to. And we will eventually get to the point where we can have conversations about these issues like you and I do.
Well, hopefully.
Time. It's a transition, not a light switch.
That's why I believe these conversations are so important. And so when I do have folks that question me on why I do this particular show, or
Do,
I do
do
work
you
with
get
folks.
questions on that?
Do I get what?
Do you ever get? Do you actually get questions on why we do tipping points?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Wow,
yeah.
they don't see the value in it. Okay,
Um,
should we be yelling at each other more?
no, I think people want exactly what I was saying, right?
Mhm.
I should have certain positions because of who I am and how I present, either as being black, being a heterosexual male, whatever it is, right? Um, that I should have a particular stance and I should govern myself in a certain way. And anything less than that is to go against something else that I advocate for. And with the people that are coming against me in this, it has nothing to do with race actually. But um, I my advocacy is quite broad, right? And my advocacy is also could be construed as contradictory because I have quintessentially I am not a left or a right person, right? I'm very conservative in a lot of ways, but I'm also very liberal in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
And in that, I support that advocacy, right? And those things often are in conflict with each other. And so depending on who I'm talking to,
Well,
they're like,
are they
"Nope, you
really
wear that hat."
are they really in conflict with each other, or is there a perception of conflict?
uh I think in the perceived outcomes, it, I think your answer is right. The thoughtful, logical answer is it's perceived. However, again, because you and I can have a conversation and have conflict and move through it, most people cannot, and it's a zero sum situation. If I advocate, for instance, for men and boys, it doesn't have anything to do with saying that girls and women's issues aren't important.
But they use that as a trap to try and catch you into something other. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's part
Right,
of
I'm a misogynist pig,
it,
you know.
it's what we
Oink
talk about.
oink.
Yeah, it's what we talk about in the workshops is how to overcome that particular behavior. But to use a too obvious pun, and I'll apologize for it in
Let
advance.
me swallow my water so I don't spit it out.
So it is not black and white. Okay, there's a lot of shades of gray in there, and if you hold a particular point and it seems to be in conflict with this other point, that's a conversation, not a reason to cancel.
Hey, how many shades? Because it's 1:53 in the afternoon, not in the morning, sir.
Well, as many shades as you need.
Well, I mean, if it's 50 Shades, then, this might be a nighttime show.
Oh, way more than 50 Shades.
Oh, wow, okay. You did
Diversity,
say you're a little
diversity,
older than me.
diversity is everything.
Let me just put my water down.
As I hear the whip.
Wow, this is really taking a left turn. Oh, man, have you seen 50 Shades of Grey?
No, but I saw the predecessor, The Secretary.
What?
There's a movie
There's a
that precedes the 50 Shades things called The
Oh, is there?
Secretary with James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh, okay, maybe I need to check that out.
And it's a much better movie than any of the other ones.
Is it? Hey, well, don't knock it till you try it. You haven't even watched it.
I saw parts of it, read
Yeah,
the book, and when everybody
yeah.
was reading it, I went, better books. There are lots of better books out there.
Wow, quite snobby. Go, hey, for
No, no, I actually have to respond to that. It's not snobbery; it's respect for my time.
oh, well, I was gonna say is that you are older, and so you've had more experience,
That
and so
in
maybe
some
you
things,
need to. I'm just saying, maybe you need to maybe enlighten us. Maybe we do need a nighttime, late night show.
yeah, where we could get really down and dirty, so to speak. I have some great ideas for guests too.
Oh, good lord, Mark's macabre.
No, I've lived a long time, and I have a very broad community that is very inclusive. So I've lived my life. I'm not going to
Oh
apologize
man.
for that.
No, please don't. There's just so many ways that we could take that. We just need to do and scene and cleanse our palate and get out of the gutter.
Well, you're the one who took me to the gutter. I just happened
I,
to swim. I just did some backstroke while I was there.
oh, good lord. Oh man, let me have a cough drop. Look, I'm just getting over a cold. Okay,
Yeah.
so my mental state is not clear. Everyone,
Oh no, but it's been a lot of fun here. Um,
Ding. Have a dirty mouth orbits.
yeah. Well, whatever you need to have.
Oh goodness,
Anyway, so folks, the dinosaur is dying. Try
it's
not
a
to
hell of
be
a
under it when
segue.
it falls. When big systems go.
Ooh, should I? Can I tell this secret from Crystal?
I have not read it yet. I turned it off so I didn't get a look at it. But go for it.
It's just something that she says she's going to be bringing to Stone Soup.
Okay.
She says, "Hey team, I'm bringing my microscope to the event. Please bring a soil sample for inspection. 3 inches down and place in a clean Ziploc. Same day as the event."
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. And Deanne's going to be there talking about growing as well. And she finished the Master Gardener program. We're going to have Matthew talking about renewable energy and some of the projects that we have on our plans for next year, which are going to be very exciting for Kitsap County. Marwan's going to be doing a go bag. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means how to have something with you that keeps you prepared in case of an emergency. We are going.
and I'll just say we're keeping it positive. So
Yep.
I'm a person that likes to be comfortable. This is what the go bag looks like. So just think about getting caught in a traffic jam and you didn't have a chance to have lunch. And wouldn't it be great if you had, some trail mix and some, something to drink and whatever your favorites, right? And you got the kiddos in the car and you want to have something for them to do, or you need a blanket. I like
Yes.
being comfortable. That's
any
important to
any
me.
number of things you can do, and remember, having those distractions and being healthy while you're in the car will help you from going to a place that's bad. It might slow you down from making a drastic decision that will be bad for everybody,
Hmm.
or maybe somebody else making a drastic decision that would be extraordinarily bad for you.
Yep.
So let's take care of each other. Let's embrace our humanity and let's care more. Okay? That's
And I
really where
wanted
we
to
have to go.
and I wanted to challenge everyone too is I'm not gonna, the bag can only be so big, right? I still need trunk space. So I can't wait to hear what you would put in the bag that I didn't put in the bag. I think that'll be a lot of fun. because that might be something that I end up modifying and saying, "Hey, this is what I need in my bag."
And I'll challenge you to create a list from what people suggest that should be the go bag list that we can put on our website and on Facebook.
Oh, I love it. Done. Done.
Okay,
I love it.
cool. So come have your input on what you go into the go bag,
Mm-hmm.
and let's make this this is going to be an annual event, and let's make it a really strong community event. I want to see dozens of gardens planted after this. I want to see neighborhood ambassadors step forward and start connecting neighborhoods throughout Kitsap County. This could be the launch pad for a whole new Kitsap County. And let's be honest, the reason Kitsap, well, I mean, part of the reason that Kitsap County is what we chose is because we live here. But
Mm-hmm.
the real reason, beyond all of the other reasons, is that Kitsap is hard. Kitsap is an extraordinarily hard place to build community. And we need to win in a very hard space to prove that it can be done anywhere. And I welcome you to come talk to me on Friday night and ask me why it's so hard. I'd love to talk to you about it.
And to be clear, because I think it needs to be stated, is he is not saying that there is not community and that you do not already have community, but there is cross pollinating that needs to happen that is not happening. So there's a lot of strong communities out here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of folks that brag about how resource rich we are in social services and nonprofits. So we do a good job in that. And in a lot of ways, we're thriving.
Mhm.
However, there are a lot of ways where there are so many deficits and there are still so many people suffering either through food insecurity, housing insecurity, and whatnot, whatever it is, you name it. And that's where we need to build community, getting to know each other, finding that common ground, making that change. And if you notice, if you look nationally, a lot of things that happen nationally first happen somewhere in California or Florida or Texas. And so we can be that catalyst, right? That tipping point, if you will, because we built community and then we pushed out together and then made an impact on the nation respectively.
Yep. And that's a real possibility the way this is being lined up. So
Mhm.
let's all come together. Let's future proof our lives and let's help each other do better.
I like it.
All right. And I think we're there probably a minute shy because of technical difficulties. But what's the last word, Marwan?
The last word is no one should die alone.
Nope.
If the dinosaur is dying and no one knows, you know, we shouldn't be alone. We shouldn't be alone.
Nope. And for me, the last word is Triceratops.
Okay, it sounds like a safe word, but
We're back there again, are we?
hey, well, I couldn't help myself.
Triceratops,
Oh,
Triceratops,
well, we
orange,
gotta
orange,
make sure
pineapple, blueberry.
we gotta make sure you really mean it, right? That's like, damn it, I can't remember the word. That's not how you pronounce that. Oh, now you need to spell it. Spell
And now we
it.
know. We now know what Marwan does at night.
Oh man. Oh well, good. I'm glad we ended off on a laugh. Please tell everyone when Stone Soup is and when to drop off their stuff and then come back for the main event.
We will be opening up at 10 o'clock in the morning. It is at West Side Improvement Club. It is at the corner of E Street and National. You'll see the bingo signs in the big parking lot up front. We'll be opening for Chris and I will be there at 10. We'll be taking donations and starting the soups. By about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, anybody who drives by is going to be like starting to drool. And the event starts at 6 o'clock at night. Be there a little early if you can to, come on in and get things settled so we can like spread things out. We're going to be decorating there all day and getting things ready. So it should be a fun time.
So again, 10 a.m., you can drop off your foodstuffs. And if you don't have anything to do on Friday, hang out. If you have to get back to work or do other things, go ahead and do those things. We'll see you at 6 o'clock. We're gonna have a good time. The event goes from 6 to 9 p.m. Look forward to having a good time, and it doesn't cost anything. It's free. So if you're like, "Hey, I don't know what to do in Bremerton," hey, meet some
Well,
local people and get a
you
meal
bring
out of it.
you need to
Yeah.
bring an ingredient. So bring an onion, bring a carrot, bring something for the soups. And anything that's left over from the soups, we will be giving to the helplines.
And I'll say
So
for those who can, if you cannot, we're not gonna turn you
no,
away.
we are not. We have extra bowls, we have extra spoons, but